Welcome back to the Whiskey Couch here in sunny South Africa. My name is GUSTAV MULLER and this is Whiskey Tasting and Food Pairing Review number 111. Today's whiskey, and I'm very excited, it is a French whiskey, Armorik, and I'm trying to pronounce that the way that the French would do it. Armorik Single Malt from the Warenghem Distillery. Warenghem Distillery was founded in 1900, but all sorts of different spirits was distilled there until the early 1980s when they started to distill whiskey. And then in the sort of the middle 1980s, the first blended whiskey was released. And by the late 1980s, around 1988, the first single malt whiskey was released from this Warenghem Distillery, and apparently that was the first single malt whiskey produced in France. A little more than 2 years ago, in 2015, they released the first French-made rye whiskey at this Warenghem Distillery. It is situated on the coast of France. There's a little map of France over there, and you can see right there on the coast, so a bit of coastal influence. And it is owned by the Leizour family. Armorik sherry finish whiskey from the Warenghem Distillery. It is a no age statement whiskey, so no age mentioned here, but it does say unchill filtered. That is very important. 750 milliliter bottle here in South Africa and bottled at 46% alcohol by volume. Product of France. At the Chairman's Trophy Ultimate Spirit Challenge in 2015, it received 94 out of 100. Made from 100% French barley, so a real French product. Armorik sherry finish single malt, bottled at 46%. You can see the sherry cask influence in the color of this whiskey, an amber color. Ex-Bourbon and finished in Oloroso sherry casks. And the sherry is straight up on the nose of this whiskey. A wonderful, sweet, intense sherry aroma, but also dried fruits and raisins, typical of a sherry cask finished whiskey. The pears that I'm picking up is a bit of a surprise, probably from the distilling or the ex-Bourbon cask. And then the chocolates and nuts, bit of wood and soft alcohol notes on the nose. Wow, this is a rich, almost chewy, complex whiskey with the dried fruit flavors on the palate. Plums, dark berries, everything that one would expect from a sherry cask finished whiskey, but also a bit of honey, caramel, sherry, chocolate and coffee. No bitter notes as yet. Let's try a second. This is really, really good. It's got a strong cereal note as well with roasted nuts. And then the typical baking spices from the Oloroso sherry casks. I don't know if it's my imagination, but there's a slight saltiness, and that is probably because of the maritime influence, being a coastal distillery. What a long finish. It just remains with you. Slight spiciness at the end and very nice and warming. I am totally surprised. Wonderful whiskey. And I'm adding a few drops of water to see what the effect will be. Just a few drops of water. Dark sherry emerging on the nose with a few drops of water. Wonderful. And on the palate, a little bit softer after the water, but the toffee and the sherry on the palate after a few drops of water. My summary for this: surprisingly good single malt from France. My summary would be sherry, caramel, chocolate, coffee. I just want to continue on and on. So all in all, quite a complex, layered whiskey. Very enjoyable, well balanced single malt from France. The price here in South Africa is around 700 Rand for a no-age statement whiskey. For me, it's a bit much, but after I've experienced it now, maybe it's worthwhile. £45 in the UK and $60 more or less in the US. If you want to pair this whiskey with a food snack, then I'd recommend that you connect with your food snack with elements of the flavor profile, such as the dried fruit element, the caramel, sherry, chocolate, coffee, nutty, cereal, baking spices elements. So something like a very simple chocolate covered raisin. I've got a few there that I could try right now, and I just know it'll work. Could work very well. Lint has got a cappuccino chocolate Lindor. That'll work well. And I've got some coffee and cardamom chocolate. And I'm interested in trying this at some stage with a sherry cask finished whiskey. Also a date crunchy, just to connect with those dark berry, date, plummy flavors. But for today, I'm going to go the fruitcake route. So I've got a tiny piece of fruitcake with a bit of whipped cream on top. And I know the raisins and the cherries and the baking spices, the cinnamon flavors of this fruitcake will connect very well with a whiskey like this. Let's see if I'm right. Very good. A very good pairing. This whiskey has got enough body to make this pairing work. So this is actually quite a good pairing. I would give it a sort of a 4 out of 5 for this pairing. I also have an oats cookie with that typical oats baking spices and some raisins, cinnamon in here, and just out of interest, I am going to try this. It's a soft oats cookie, and I just broke off part of it. You can see the raisin in there and some of the oats pieces. Very different with the baking spices and the brown sugar. This is also very good, but now it's difficult. Which one would be the better one? They're very different, but I would give them both a 4 out of 5 just in terms of a pairing. What a very nice experience. Thank you for watching. Remember to share this video with your friends, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow when I'll be reviewing the Armorik single malt. Which one is that? The double maturation from the same Warenghem Distillery. See you then. Slàinte.